Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillahi wa kafa wa salamun ala ibadihi allazina istafa amma ba'd. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu tubu ilallahi tawbatan nasuh. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun alal mursaleen. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. رب يسر ولا تؤسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين. ربي زدني علما يا فتاح يا فتاح يا فتاح. Alhamdulillah, by grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His extreme mercy, out of His extreme kindness, out of His extreme tawfiq, we are in the month of Rajab, which is almost about to come to its end. And not only are we in the month of Rajab, we are also blessed enough by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have this awareness, to have this consciousness that this month has some significance, that there is some value for this month, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not created this month without a purpose. And the fact that He has allowed us to live long enough to be breathing, be conscious, be healthy in this beautiful month of Rajab, we cannot thank Him enough for the greatness that He has given to us, the blessing that He has given to us. Because by virtue of being healthy, by virtue of being conscious, by virtue of being in our senses, by virtue of being able having full control over our bodies, our minds, our thoughts, our actions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us an opportunity to prepare ourselves for a month which is a month of blessings, a month of kindness, a month of mercy, a month of forgiveness, a month of ensuring that we get accounted among those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have forgiven from the fire of hell. It is a great blessing for us that we are here. The fact that we have been given this blessing, the fact that we are where we are, we must make use of it. And that's what we have been trying to do. This is what this entire series that we started 3 weeks ago is all about. A series to prepare ourselves mentally, consciously for the month of Ramadan, to get ourselves ready for what is meant to be the most beautiful month. And we can only be ready for it if we put our heart, our soul and our body, all three in. Otherwise, we will physically enter it, but we may not be spiritually there. And if we spiritually enter it and our bodies are not with us, that too would be difficult for us. So we need to prepare for it from all angles. We are coming to the end of month of Rajab. Rajab is almost over. Today is what date of Rajab? 27th? Almost, I believe. 25th of Rajab. 25th of Rajab is already here. Few more days and then Rajab would be. What was the month of Rajab for? Month of Rajab was for preparing our hearts. Month of Rajab was for sowing the seed. And sowing the seed, let's do a quick recap of what did we understand. What does sowing the seed means? Sowing the seed means that we, just like a farmer would first ensure that the soil is purified, just like the farmer would ensure that the place where he is about to sow the seed is clean, is worthy of the seed, it has all the right conditions, it has all the right nourishments in it. We too need to make sure that our heart, in which we expect that nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to come, in which we want the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to come, in which we want the love of Quran to come, in which we want the love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to come, in which we want the love of our deen to come, in which we want the light, the nur to come, which will act as a guiding source for us. If we want all of that, then we too need to make sure that our heart is in the right direction, is facing upwards, is clean enough, is cleansed, it has the right nourishments in it, has the right conditions in it. And the other thing that we understood from sowing the seed is that when the seed is sown, it is put underground. And in that time, it's complete darkness. It is complete hopelessness, because not only have you put it underground, you have put soil further on top of it, you have actually buried it. Logically speaking, there seems to be no hope left for it. How would it come out? What would come out of it? But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of its qadrat, out of its rahmat, emerges roots from it, emerges a stem from it, which comes out and then becomes so strong, so powerful, that it not only ends up turning into a tree which gives shade to others, it also gives fruits to others. So we too need to think of it from this perspective, that when we are cleaning, when we start the process of cleaning our hearts, it would initially seem hopeless. It would initially seem that we have gone into a darkness. It would initially seem that we have been buried in our filth. It would initially seem that we have been made redundant. It would initially seem that there is no hope. But because we are not doing this for ourselves, we are doing it for Allah, inshallah, we will find a way out. We will find a way out. Allah will take us. And for that, we said that just like the seed comes from negative to neutral, so from underground to the surface of the ground, and from the surface of the ground it grows up, we also need to see that when we are at the below the surface, we are below the neutral line, what do we need to do to come up to the neutral line? And to come up to the neutral lines, the first thing we said was that let's not sin. Let's not sin. Because sinning is a destruction like no other. Sinning is going to nullify whatever effort we are doing. Sinning is a leak that we have in our cup which would not let us retain any nur that we want to acquire. Sinning, Rasulullah said, with every sin there comes a black dot on our heart. With every sin there's a black dot on our heart. When we sin, we are making that cup of our hearts dirty, dirty and dirty. And it will not help us. So the first thing that we said was not to sin. And in that, we must pray. And in that, we said that look out for the 5 windows that corrupt our heart. The 5 windows that corrupt our heart are, first thing we said, are our eyes. Look out for, be careful of what we do with our eyes, what we end up seeing. Our ears, what we listen to, our tongue, what we say, our thoughts, what we think about, and our tummy, our bellies, what goes in them. All 5 of them, we said that let's look after them and let's ensure that we are taking care of them. I do not know how many of you, and I'm not going to ask you to do a raise of hands to show me, but I know for a fact that just by me telling you that let go of your mobile phones and stop going on to their social media and stop browsing and stop doing the Instagrams and the Twitters and the whatnots, you will not have stopped. You would have not stopped because you would have given yourself one or the other reason why you need to do that. Not that you don't want to, but you would have given yourself a reason that why it is necessary. But we need to keep a check. We need to keep a check. I said that I gave you the actions of not sinning. And reason I explained to you is that because these sins act as a hole in our cup, and when we put that nur, it gets drained out of these holes. And we need to start plugging these holes. We need to start plugging these holes so that the leakage stops. But there's another thing that we all must do, which we didn't speak about the last thing. And that is to do our own muhasabah, to hold ourselves accountable, to hold our own selves accountable, to develop this understanding that what is it that I do, that what is it that causes me to do wrong, where do I go wrong, what am I and what do I do which basically leads me to sin. It's a very beautiful saying of Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He said, Hasibu anfusakum qabla an tuhasabu. That hold yourself accountable before you are held accountable. This habit of doing muhasabah, this habit of doing and self-check to understand that what is it that I'm doing wrong, where am I going wrong, where is it that we are slipping, is a very, very important. We must note down what causes me to go wrong. First of all, where do I go wrong? And secondly, what causes me to go wrong? And then when you realize that I go wrong on this, then set yourself a target that, okay, now that I know, now that I understand that this is where I go wrong, I need to fix it by doing A, B, C. Another thing that we spoke about was that when you are stopping yourself from doing certain things, at the same time, another thing that you must do is give yourself an alternative to fill that void, that vacuum that would be created by you giving up on something. For example, if now I'm to say to you that go off your screens, that means that suddenly you have 60% of your day back to yourself. Now, if you have so much time back to yourself, if you do not give yourself an alternative to fill that empty time with, that would mean that now you would be, feeling that urge, that thing that, oh, there's something that is missing. You would be feeling uncomfortable, you would be feeling bored, and you will be constantly getting, your nafs would be constantly saying, Kya kar rahe ho yaar? Let's go back to that thing, let's go back to that thing, and you would eventually end up falling back to that thing again. But if you give yourself an alternate, if you set yourself that, okay, I now have this much time, I would catch up on all my Facebook posts, all my Instagram posts, all my Twitter posts at night. So now that, of course, that habit is there, that need to go up is still there. If you do not give yourself an alternative, you will not be able to stay away from it. So give yourself an alternative. Give yourself, okay, I'll inshallah use this time to read Quran. So now, and if Quran is suddenly too heavy on your heart, say, okay, I will give myself to read a useful book, and then gradually you shift to Quran. But give yourself an alternative. If you don't give yourself an alternative, you will fall back into that habit. If there was a company of friends who you would go and sit with to get some time off and get relaxed, and you know that in that company of friends you would do ghibat, you would do love talk, you will do all the unnecessary things which cause you to sin from your tongue, from your ears, then give yourself an alternative. That I would usually on a weekend night go to my friend's place, and this is where all the friends would gather and we'll do this. Start coming over here, start attending this. Give yourself an alternative so that you know that I have something to hang on to. But give yourself an alternative. And yet, it would be times where you would not be able to still do any of this entirely on your own. And in moments like these, when you will not be able to do things on your own, seek help. Take help from somebody. For example, if you know that, again, because most of the things stem from our phones, that you are phonocolic, if you can't get off your phone, then, and if you are in habit of using your phones at night, then say that, give your phones to your wife, say that 8 p.m. the curfew starts, here's my phone, and now you give it back to me at Fajr time, right? So give it to your spouse. Seek help from somebody. Seek help from somebody so that they, a lot of people have said that when they send me that daily maamulat and they have to tell me that, today we managed to do this, then this, and we fail to do this, just when it's conscious on their mind that they have to, send somebody that what they have done, it helps them from not doing that thing. So that self-consciousness, that, that seeking that help from somebody helps in avoiding it. That, now a lot of people run away after, a week or two because they say that, now we have to end up saying everything. So they run away, but that's another point. But those who continue, their feedback is that they benefit, and my own experience is that when I did this to my shaykh, it helps a lot, because then it allows you to, keep know that, that's basically seeking help from somebody. So that's another thing that we should do. Another thing about doing our own muhasabah is that we keep a log, to keep a tracker. And this helps build discipline. This helps build a discipline in ourselves, that when we have a log, when we have a tracker, when we know that, if, for example, if right now we are only focusing upon not doing things, then keep a log that I did not do this today. Put down, like I said, first thing first is put down things that where you feel you go wrong. And then track against it every day that did I go wrong for this habit today or not? And that would tell you that which of your habit you're finding it most difficult to let go of. But start keeping a log. That log, and these are steps that if you go and ask anyone who's a high performer in any field, they will tell you that these are the habits that they have. Be it an athlete, be it an executive in some corporate world, be it in a superstar in any competition. These are the things to attain, to become above average, to get the most out of you. It requires discipline. And discipline dictates that we do these things. We first identify where are the weaknesses. We then take steps. We give ourselves alternatives to those weaknesses so that our body does not fall short on them or does not dictate us to go back on them. We seek external help. A lot of athletes, that's why they have coaches, because they are better than their coach, but they have a coach because they know that we need some external help to push us, to guide us, to take us through. And number 4 thing they do is they keep a log. They keep a log of how they're doing, on what each area of performance, how are they performing. And that's what we need to do as well, keep a log, right? So this is just building up upon what we spoke about last week. Up until now, I've been sharing with you the benefits of this month. I've been sharing from you that how blessed this month is, that how greatness this, how much khair there is in this month, how much mercy is there in this month. But there are certain things in this month which, if done, there are straight disqualified. There are certain people who enter these months, they do all the things that they have to do, and yet they exit this month completely deprived, completely void of all the khair that this month has to offer. If you are to think about it, if you want to understand this better, think of it as a person who was preparing for, let's say, Olympics. He's an athlete who wants to compete in Olympics, and he has been preparing for it. He has been ensuring he has the best of physical fitness, he has the best of diet, he has the best of mental strength. He is fully ready to give his 110% in this competition. And he enters this competition as well with great level of readiness. And he does very well in terms of his participation, in terms of his involvement in each activity and each competition that he takes part in. He is doing very well. But eventually when he reaches the finals, it is said that he has been disqualified. Why would he be disqualified? Because there were certain parameters, there were certain bylaws that were set by the organizers, that if you violate these bylaws, you would be disqualified. And because he did not pay attention to those bylaws, those fine prints that were there to say that A, B, and C can lead to disqualification, he did not pay attention to them, he was disqualified. In Ramadan, that is also the case. How do we know? We know because Rasulullah ﷺ said this. Rasulullah ﷺ said that there's a hadith from Hazrat Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, in which he says that Rasulullah ﷺ said that there are many people who fast, but their fasting gives them nothing except for them being hungry. There are many people who fast, but their fasting gives them nothing except them being hungry. And there are many people who stand up at night, and their standing up at night gives them nothing except for tiredness, except for fatigue. Which means that there are people who go into Ramadan, and on the face of it, they are fasting. They are not eating anything from Fajr till Maghrib. They are going to Taraweehs, they are staying up at night, they are doing Qiyam, they are doing everything. But inside of Allah, their fasting is as good as them being hungry, and their standing up at night is them doing an exercise, just fatiguing themselves out, but not getting any reward. So there are people who get this as well, which means that they are mahroom, they are deprived they are denied the blessing of this month. What kind of month? Rasulullah said that this is a month which is full of blessings. This is a month which is full of blessings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens the doors of heaven and closes the doors of Jahannam in this. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chains all the shayateen in this as well. And there is in it a night which is better than 1,000 nights of worship. And then Rasulullah said, and the one who gets deprived of this month or the blessings of this month is indeed truly the one who is deprived. In another hadith, Rasulullah said that there is a month that has come upon you in which there is a night which is better than 1,000, that is better than worship of 1,000 months. And the one who is deprived of this night, he is deprived of every goodness. And the one who is deprived of this is truly a shaki. Shaki, I don't know how to translate this into English. What would be the translation of shaki? Is badkismat, shaki. Wretched is truly a wretched person. The one who is the one who is deprived of the blessings of this night is truly deprived, and the one who is deprived is indeed wretched. So this can also happen, that we may prepare ourselves, we may do everything, we may get ourselves ready for this month, and despite our being ready, despite our being in the best of the shapes, we may get deprived of the blessings of this month. Rasulullah said in another place that the month of Ramadan is a shield, but it is a shield till you puncture it. It is a shield till you puncture it, till you tear it. So the next thing that we need to understand in preparing for this month of Ramadan is that while we stop sinning, while we stop doing the things which will not even make us fit enough to enter the competition, we must also take care of the matters which, if we have made ourselves fit enough, would still lead to our disqualification. And there are 4 of them. 4 things that we must make sure are not in us, because if they are, then we would be deprived from the blessings of this month of Ramadan. And what are those 4 things? Even before I tell you those 4 things, why am I saying all of this? Let's just step back and rethink. I'm telling you the things that are there to help us prepare for Ramadan, because we want to benefit the most from this month of Ramadan. The first thing we talked about was the things that would not even let the rahmat get retained in our hearts. Would come and it would get simply walked away. Now that we have looked at steps that will help us plug those, let's look at the things that even if the nur gets retained, even if everything is okay, but there are certain bylaws, there are certain other conditions which we are not fulfilling, which would mean that in the end, this water even with this water in us would be declared as not worthy of being used, right? इस्तेमाल के काबिल नहीं रहा, फेंक दें इसको. So first thing first was to plug all the holes. Second thing is to make sure that we are aware that what are the things that lead to disqualification. And today, inshallah, we are talking about the things that can lead to disqualification. So what are the things that lead to disqualification? The things that lead to disqualification are, Rasulullah said that there are 4 people who are deprived of the blessings of this month. So Sahaba Ikram said, Ya Rasulullah, who are these 4 people? So Rasulullah said, the first one is the one who is an alcoholic. Who is an alcoholic? A person who is in a habit of drinking alcohol, a person who cannot stay away from alcohol, is deprived from this month. Now, although the words of Hadith are very strictly that he is alcoholic, but an alcoholic is a person who has such an addiction that it makes him lose his senses, right? It is an addiction that pulls you to it so much that you cannot help, staying away from it. It is an addiction that drives you to go to it again and again and again, and you seek your pleasure, your comfort, your your peace in that. And if we remove the word alcohol and if we just keep it as an addiction, there are other such addictions that we have as well. That addiction can be in pornography. That addiction can be in just being on the social media. That addiction can be in you're just doing TikToks. And I'll tell you something very interesting. There was a research that I was studying. It said that dopamine is the enzymes that get released, right? So alcohol, the reason that people enjoy alcohol so much is because it releases dopamine, which allows us to, which relaxes us, which soothes us, and which makes us feel comfortable. The amount of dopamine that is released when we get feedback on our posts that we have posted in Instagram, Facebook, and all the other social media, when we get these likes, when we get these subscribers, the instant release of dopamine that we get is, I don't recall exactly, but it is many a times more than what you get by consuming alcohol. So the dopamine that gets released by us getting hit by these likes and by positive reinforcements of our posts on social media is much more than what we get from drinking alcohol. And that research was saying that the funny thing is that we have put an age restriction of 18 plus on alcohol, but we have given the social media platforms to all our teenagers. And that is why teenagers are now entering into more and more depression as well. Because when there's a withdrawal of it, it leads to depression. So linking the same research to what I'm trying to say, that although Rasulullah has strictly used the word alcohol, the alcoholics, but if we look at Hadeeth ki illat ko dekhna hota, if we look at its reasoning, the reason that it has been said, then it is basically us being addicted to something. And if we are addicted, and if we are getting the same kind of highs from our social medias that we are so indulgent in, then we are no different from an alcoholic. So the first thing first that keeps one deprived is that if you are the one who is an alcoholic. Second thing that makes one deprived, the second thing that makes one stay away from gaining these blessings of this month of Ramadan is a person who is disobedient to his parents. Maa baap ki nafarmani, walidain ki nafarmani. A person who is disobedient to his parents, a person whose parents are not happy with him, a person whose parents feel that this person is nothing except a source of pain, a source of torture for us, that person is deprived. So if we want to make sure that despite all our goodness in the month of Ramadan, we are not deprived, make sure that when we enter into this month of Ramadan, we have settled everything with our parents. We have sought their forgiveness. We have told them that whatever wrong that we have done, we are sorry for that, and inshallah from here on we will just make sure that there's no pain that comes to you from our side. And at the same time, just make sure that whatever is there to please them, let's put an effort to give that to them. A person whose parents are not happy with him, he is deprived, which is a big thing. It's not a small thing. The third person who is deprived as per Rasulullah from the blessings of this month is a person who does not uphold his relation, qata rahmi karne wala, which means that first thing first, your blood relatives, your brothers, your sisters, then your cousins, your uncles, your aunts, your cousins, and then your as you spread out, your second cousin, third cousins, friends, far off relatives, all of them. The one who cuts the blood relationships, especially the blood relationship, is the one who is deprived. The one who is cutting his blood relationships is deprived. There is, he may be the best, he may be the one who is leading the Taraweeh, he may be the one who is the first person to be in the masjid for every salah, he may be the person who is the one who feeds the entire town, He may be the one who does all the other good things. But if he is somebody who cuts his ties, Rasulullah says that he is deprived, mahroom, right? Allah will forgive everyone except these 4 people. So we need to join our ties. Joining our ties means that, if we are in a situation where we are not talking to our sisters, where we are not talking to our brothers, where we are not talking to our relatives, then just, send them a message, Ramadan Mubarak. Just nothing else. Just send them a more message to, say, hope all is well. Send them a message that we are well at our place. Something. Just establish that connection. It does not mean that you get too integrated with them if they are somebody who do not support your religious viewpoint, who does not, who is opposing you, or they are very toxic. There are certain relatives who are very toxic, that being in them causes a lot of negativity. If they are like that, that just means that you do not become too engaged with them, but at the same time do not cut yourself from them, so much so that you do not even know if they are alive or not. So much so that you do not even know if a tough time has come on them, that you're not there to help them out. So keep yourself connected. Leave that door open to restore the relationship if required. And the 4th person who is deprived from this is the one who keeps a grudge in his heart. Keena rakhne wala. Now, he did this to me at that time, I will get back to him. I can forgive him, but I cannot forget. Very common statement. If you cannot forget, that means that you have, basically you are not forgiving as well. Because now every time you will remember, all those feelings will also come back. What you can say is that I will not lead myself to a point where I am made to hurt like this again. That I will not do. But yeah, who did that to me and how he did that to me, that's all gone. That's all forgiven. They're 2 different things. A moment does not get bitten by the same hole twice is one thing, but that does not mean that the moment remembers that he is the one who bites me. So, I'll not. But what you need to do is to keep in mind that it was these circumstances. On my part, I need to change this. On my part, I do not need to, for example, if you were becoming too involved with somebody without really them, wanting you to get involved with them, and then suddenly that person, aapko chhadi dikha di, jhandi dikha di, and you feel that, I was so kind to him, I was so loving to him, and he has done this and I done that, and look what he has done to me. And now it's this person's fault. It's not this person's fault. It's the circumstances that led to this. Do not lead to these circumstances again. Forgive and forget. That instant, not what had led you to do that. It's a difficult thing, but if you think about it, if you evaluate it, if you look at it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked me not to keep a grudge in my heart, how do I not keep a grudge in my heart and yet not fall for the same mistake, for the same hurt again? Then you eventually figure this out, what I'm trying to tell you. But the point is, forgive people. Forgive people. If we only realize that what greatness Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept for forgiving people, there would not be a single person who we would not forgive. In fact, we would look for excuses to forgive people. The biggest of the blessings that one gets is that on the day of judgment, whoever has forgiven a single fault of a person on this dunya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive all his faults in akhirah. When we forgive somebody in this dunya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive us in akhirah. When we forgive somebody in this dunya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will allow us to be with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam like the 2 fingers are next to each other. The person who forgives another person in this dunya gets to be with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam like this, like with 2 fingers together. Person who is with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam like this on the day of akhirah, where would he end up being? Think about it. I've often heard people say that मैं इसको इस दुनिया में तो माफ़ करता हूँ, लेकिन आखिरत में मैं इसको ज़रूर पकड़ूँ. That I forgive him on this dunya, but in the akhirah I'll take my revenge. The thing is that do we even realize what we are saying? Do we even realize what that day of akhirah would be like? That day would be a day of nafsi. Do we think we will have enough, or do we are such a big saint that we would be having no worries, and on that day we'll be just looking for the people, idhar aa jao, अजी हाँ जी तो ओ पीछे आप भी आ जाएं, या हमारी अपनी तो कोई परेशानी नहीं होगी, we will be completely all taken care of and we will just be calling people that please come, you know, I have now things to settle with you. That day we will be having our own worries. And if on that day, because of us forgiving somebody in this dunya, we become somebody who is completely forgiven, what greater reward can there be? What greater reward can there be? Would, on the flip side, if we even get a chance to take the revenge, we are thinking that he is zalim, I am mazloom. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala holds the court, and it turns out that he said to us just once that, you know, he did something to us once bad, right? And we in our thinking, मैं उससे आखिरत में बदला लूँगा, मैं उससे वो, you know, and I'll take revenge from him in the akhirah. Every time we said this statement, we added 4 or 5 things. वो तो ऐसा है, he's like this, he's like this, he's like that, means that we would be doing his ghiba. Now, when the court would be there and the judgment would be to be said, he said, he did to you one thing and you said A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 100, 1000, 10,000 times ghiba of his. Who will get whose reward? Where would all the rewards go? So there is no possibility. We cannot even take the risk of saying that, you know, I will, you know, take care of you on the day of judgment. The best thing, easiest thing is that I forgive you wholeheartedly. There is nothing you need to worry about from me. I will make dua for you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah too also forgives you. Why? Because inshallah, if we do that, we will be forgiven on the day of judgment. And not only would we be forgiven, we would be in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam like this, with 2 fingers together. So forgive Rasulullah. The one who forgives, the one whose heart is clean, is not deprived. If we enter this month and we leave this month keeping a grudge in our heart, we will not. Do not forgive and seek forgiveness. Forgive and seek forgiveness. But make sure that these 4 things are not there. What are the 4 things? Addiction, right? I'm not using the word alcohol because alcohol, alhamdulillah, I'm very confident that we are all free of, alhamdulillah. Obedience of parents. We must make sure that there is no disobedience to parents. We must make sure that we are not among those who have cut their ties, the blood ties. And we must clean our hearts. There's a Sahabi, radiallahu anhu, he once entered the Masjid Nabawi and Rasulullah said to him that this person who's entering is a Jannati. This person who's entering now is a person from paradise. And so one of the Sahabis, he got very curious. He said that why did Rasulullah say that he is a Jannati? What is so special about him? So he said to that Sahabi that, brother, I want to stay with you for 3 days. He said, okay, stay with me. So he stayed with him for 3 days and he observed him very closely as to what he does. So after the 3rd day, he said to him that, look, the reason I said that I want to stay with you for 3 days is because you entered the masjid and Rasulullah said to us that you are Jannati, you are a person from heaven. So I was curious as to what is it that you have in you that makes you eligible for heaven. So I wanted to see you, observe you, that what extra deed do you do? But the thing is that I saw you very closely and you don't do anything extra than compared to what I do. So is there anything extra that you do that I'm not aware of? So that Sahabi said that, I don't think I do anything special. But what I do is that when I go to sleep every night, I clean my heart of any grudge that I may have for anyone. I go to sleep with a clean heart, forgiving completely that person. That's how I go to sleep. So forgive people. Do not keep grudges. So we spoke about the things today, what I have said. If anybody is worried about that, it's been 15 minutes. When you are playing back the recording and you see that, in any of my talks, I'm just giving a general tip. If you see that it's too long a talk, I've realized that if you play me at 2x speed, I'm still very much audible because I speak too slow. So you can always listen to me at 2x and still get the message. And the talk will also finish in half an hour, right? So we spoke about holding our own accountability, keeping a check of where we go wrong, and then addressing each of those wrong areas, either by giving ourselves alternatives to the habits we are trying to leave, or by seeking help, and by keeping a log so that we can see that how we are doing. And then we spoke about what are the 4 things that we must make sure are not there, which will allow us not to be deprived from this month of blessing. There's one more thing that is an instant cure for all of this. It's so instant that even if we just make an intention for it, even before we utter the words for it, just by making the intention for it, it fixes everything. Ulti ko seedha kar deti hai. And because we are in a habit of, seeking shortcuts for everything, and I gave you a shortcut for doing 2x, and everybody was happy that, yes, because they know that we are in a habit of seeking shortcuts. So there's another shortcut that I'll give you. And that shortcut, waqai ulti ko seedha karne mein, is a quick fix. And that is to do tawbah. Started the session with me reciting the ayah that Ya ayyuhallazina amanu tubu ilallahi tawbatan nasuh. This tawbah is so beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He says that if there's a person who has sinned so much that his sins has filled every space between the earth and the sky, and he comes to do tawbah, I will forgive him and wipe all his sins away. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves the person who does tawbah. And he instantly wipes away everything. And all these things that we spoke about, whether they are out of our habits or they are the sub-bylaws that we do not even realize are there, all of it gets fixed up and we can get a clean sheet. However, the tawbah that Allah is asking us to do is tawbatun nasuh. And tawbatun nasuh is the one which a person does not go back to after he has done tawbah. Umar radiallahu ta'ala said that it is like once the milk has come out of the cow, it won't go back into it. Just like that, the person who has done tawbatun nasuh would not go back to that sin. But we slip. So does that mean that we haven't done tawbatun nasuh? No. A tawbatun nasuh needs to have 4 characteristics. And fulfillment of these 4 characteristics require that we first understand what we are doing wrong, and that is why what I said earlier in the start of this talk and even in the last week's talk, that we first become aware of what is it that we don't have to do and what is it that we have to fix, and then we make an intention for doing tawbah. Why so? Because a true tawbah, a tawbatun nasuh, requires us to have 4 things. The first thing that it requires us to have is that it requires us to have an acknowledgement that what I am doing was wrong. From things that we are to do tawbah, it first requires us to acknowledge that that thing that I'm doing tawbah from was actually a wrong thing. Because there are a lot of people who sin and they don't even realize it is a sin. A person who is in a habit of watching TV, he does not even realize that watching all the now mahram on the TV is actually a sin. That even the thought does not cross his mind. That's an entertainment for him, but that's a sin. So the first thing is to acknowledge that what is a sin that I'm doing. The second thing is to have a remorse over that sin. A lot of people, even though they acknowledge that that thing that they did or are doing is a sin, yet they take pleasure in that. If they have stopped doing that sin, they recall the pleasure they had in that sin. A person who was a smoker, you often hear them recall that, yaar, jab hum khane ke baad lagate the na bada maza aata tha. I'm not translating that, right? So they enjoy that sin. You watch the movie and now you're recalling that movie. Now you realize that that was not something that I was meant to do, but now you recall that movie and say that, wow, great movie that was. You take pleasure in that sin knowing that it was a sin. And this is what also happens with our thoughts, right? We know that it was a sin, but we play with those thoughts that we enjoyed of that sin, and that's where we start going wrong. The third thing is to make a firm intention of not to do that thing again. irada. And this is where all those points that I talked about, that you give yourself an alternate, you seek help, you keep a logbook, all of that is showing that you have a firm intention. You have put in all these steps to help you get away from this habit that you were doing, or this wrong that you were doing, that sin that you were doing. All these things, I'm now put in place an action plan to help me go away from it. And that is why we spoke about all those things, right? And the fourth thing that is required is to do istighfar. To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, Ya Allah, I seek your forgiveness. Ya Allah, please forgive me. Ya Allah, I was wrong. Ya Allah, you have guided me to see that what was wrong. Ya Allah, I feel bad about the wrong I did. Ya Allah, I've done whatever was possible by me to get away from this sin. Ya Allah, please allow me to be forgiven. Please forgive me. If we do it like that, we can have the hope from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we will be forgiven, right? Fifth thing with tawbah is that if we have done things which are regards to hukukul ibadah, we have wronged the people. If we have identified that I have done wrong the people, and we all have wronged people by doing the riba, by doing so many things, it is best to seek forgiveness from that person. We have already spoken about the advantage of forgiving people, but we must also seek forgiveness from people. And the best way of seeking forgiveness from people is to say, month of Ramadan is coming. It's a blessed month. I don't want to enter into this month with any wrongs. There were many rights that you had over me. I could not fulfill those rights. Please forgive. Say this to everyone without going into the details that, what I did to you. I stole from you. I did riba of you. I backstabbed you. I pulled you. The reason you didn't get promoted was because I stitched on you. No. We don't need to do all of that. We just need to just say that I could not fulfill your rights. Please forgive me. So this seeking forgiveness from Allah, doing tawbah, is a very important month. This Hadith of Rasulullah, I'll just tell you the part that is relevant. Once Rasulullah was climbing up the mimbar to give the khutbah of Jummah, and he had 3 steps for the mimbar before he reached the mimbar. He took the first step and he said Ameen. He took the second step and he said Ameen. He took the third step and he said Ameen. Once he was done with the khutbah and he came down, Sahaba Ikram said, Ya Rasulullah, it was very strange. We have not seen you say Ameen climbing up the mimbar. Is this a new ruling? Rasulullah said, no. Jibreel Ameen came to me, and as I was climbing each step, Jibreel Ameen said a dua and he asked me to say Ameen to that dua. So he said 3 duas and I said 3 Ameen. So who's making the dua? Jibreel Ameen alayhi salam. Who's saying Ameen? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Can there be any possibility that this dua would not be accepted? Not a single possibility. Dua मांगने वाला और आमीन कहने वाला दोनों, both of them are the most closest and most honorable personalities. Not possible that it will not be accepted. What was the first dua on which Rasulullah says Ameen? That the one who gets the month of Ramadan and does not get himself forgiven, may he be destroyed. The one who gets the month of Ramadan and does not get himself forgiven, may he be destroyed. And Rasulullah said, Ameen. So the month of Ramadan coming to us is a big opportunity to gain forgiveness. But at the same time, on the flip side, if we miss out on getting ourselves forgiven from this month, then Rasulullah has made a dua. Jibreel Ameen had made a dua, and Rasulullah had said Ameen to that the one who gets the month of Ramadan and he did not get himself forgiven, he may be destroyed. We become eligible for that. So we must put in every effort to save ourselves, to make ourselves eligible to be forgiven. And the 4 things that I spoke about are a straight disqualifier. And the other things that I spoke about are keeping us away from the rahmat of it, right? So now is the time to start preparing for it, putting in the effort to get it done. If you have understood all of this, then inshallah, today's session we will close by reciting the kalamat of Tawbah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a sunnah in which when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would ask Sahaba Ikram to do bayt with him on different things. One of the things that he made Sahaba Ikram, and even Quran actually mentions this for the Sahabiyat, he took a pledge for them, bayt is pledge with them, over that they will do complete tawbah from whatever they have done, and will make a commitment to live a life of piety and taqwa. So we too, inshallah, let's make that niyat that I will live a life of that whatever wrong that I have done, intentionally, unintentionally, I seek complete forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from that. I make a firm intention not to do it. I do tawbah from it, and inshallah make an intention to correct all the wrong that I have in me, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to open my faults on me so that I can correct them one by one. And with that, let's recite these kalimat after me. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Amantu billahi wa malaikatihi wa kutubihi wa rusulihi wal yawmil akhiri wal qadri khairihi wa sharrihi min Allahi ta'ala wal ba'si ba'da al maut. Amantu billahi kama huwa bi asma'ihi wa sifatihi wa qabiltu jami'a ahkamihi iqrarun bil lisani wa tasdeequn bil qalb. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Astaghfirullah rabbi min kulli zambin wa atubu alayh. With these, inshallah, we have recited the kalimat of Tawbah. Let's inshallah now put all that we spoke about into action. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for us and allow us to implement all of this into our life. آخر دعوانا ان الحمدللہ رب العالمین. آج کل کے زمانے میں کوئی بھی اتنی لمبی ٹاک نہیں سنتا. سبحان اللہ، شاید ڈیلیٹ ہی ہوگی ساری ٹاک.
گوگل میں تو پڑھی